October 1st, 331 BCE, northern Mesopotamia. Close your eyes for a moment and put yourself on that plain. The sun is just beginning to burn through the morning haze. You are standing with 47,000 other men. You are outnumbered by more than 5 to 1. Across the dust, stretching so far that the eye cannot find the end of them, 250,000 soldiers are forming their lines. This is not an army. This is a moving city of warriors. Cavalry from the steppes of Central Asia, infantry from the heart of Babylon, chariots with blades mounted on their wheels, designed to turn men into harvest. War elephants, towers of muscle and tusk that no Greek has ever seen and lived to describe. At the center of this mass sits Darius III, the king of kings, the ruler of an empire that has dominated the known world for 2 centuries. He has chosen this ground. He has prepared his trap. He believes that today, the young king who has humiliated him once before will finally be crushed. That young king is Alexander of Macedon. He is 25 years old. He has never lost a battle, and he is about to attempt something that by every law of war should get every single one of his men killed. This is the story of Gaugamela, the day the Persian Empire died. To understand what happened at Gaugamela, you have to understand the man who walked onto that field. Alexander did not fight wars the way other kings did. Other kings fought to gain an advantage, to capture a city, to negotiate from strength. Alexander fought as if there was no tomorrow, as if every battle was the last one he would ever get. In 334 BCE, he crossed into Asia with 35,000 men. He didn't come to parley. He came because Persia had invaded Greece a century earlier, and in his mind, that debt had not been paid. At the Granicus River, he faced his first test. The Persians were waiting on the opposite bank, positioned to slaughter anyone who tried to cross. Alexander didn't hesitate. He led a cavalry charge straight up the bank and into the teeth of the enemy. An axe shattered his helmet. He kept going. The Persians broke. A year later, at Issus, Darius himself came to stop him. The battlefield was narrow, trapped between mountains and sea. The Persian numbers meant nothing. Alexander saw Darius across the chaos and charged directly at him. The king of kings turned and ran. He abandoned his mother, his wife, his children, his treasury. He left them all to Alexander. After Issus, the legend grew. Tyre, the island fortress, resisted Alexander for 7 months. He built a causeway across the sea and erased it from existence. Egypt welcomed him as a liberator and crowned him pharaoh. City after city fell, not just to his army, but to his reputation. But Darius was still out there, still the king of kings, still ruling the heart of the empire from his capitals deep in Mesopotamia. And this time he was learning. By 331 BCE, Darius understood that he could not beat Alexander in a narrow pass. He needed space. He needed room for his numbers to breathe. He chose Gaugamela, a vast, flat plain north of what is now Mosul in modern Iraq. He even had his engineers level the ground, removing any obstacle that might disrupt his chariots or cavalry. It was the perfect killing field. Darius assembled the largest army the ancient world had ever seen, 250,000 men. They came from every corner of the empire. Bactrian horsemen who had ridden since childhood, Armenian cavalry, Indian infantry, Persian immortals, archers from the mountains of Media. 200 scythed chariots waited at the front, their wheels fitted with razor-sharp blades designed to cut down infantry like wheat. Behind them, war elephants from India, living weapons that could crush a phalanx by simply walking into it. Darius positioned himself at the center, surrounded by his royal guard, his elite cavalry on both wings ready to encircle the enemy. He had prepared for everything. Except for one thing. He had not prepared for what Alexander would see when he looked at that plain. September 30th, the evening before the battle. In the Macedonian camp, the mood was tense. Some of Alexander's officers proposed a night attack, hit the Persians in the dark, when their numbers would mean nothing, when their elephants and chariots would be useless. It was the safe play, the smart play. Alexander refused. "I will not steal my victory like a thief," he said. This was not arrogance. This was strategy. Alexander understood something that Darius did not: legitimacy. If he won under the cover of darkness, his victory would always carry an asterisk. The Persians would say he cheated. The Greeks would whisper. But if he won in broad daylight, with the King of Kings watching, that victory would be absolute, unquestionable, divine. That night, Alexander walked the battlefield alone. He studied the ground that Darius had so carefully prepared. He noted where the ground had been leveled, where the chariots would have the clearest run. He saw where the Persian wings stretched beyond his own lines, and in the darkness he began to see the shape of the trap he would spring. Dawn, October 1st. The Persian line stretches across the plain like a living thing. 250,000 men, arranged in depth, waiting for the signal. The sound is immense, the murmur of 100,000 conversations, the clink of armor, the snorting of elephants, the jingle of chariot harnesses. Dust hangs in the air, stirred by the mere presence of so many bodies. Darius sits on his chariot at the center, surrounded by his immortals. He looks across the field and sees the Macedonian line. It is small, pathetically small, just 47,000 men. He allows himself to believe. Today, the nightmare ends. Now, look at the other side. The Macedonian phalanx forms the center. 31,000 heavy infantry, packed shoulder to shoulder, their 18-foot sarissas creating a forest of death. Behind them, 9,000 light troops, peltasts, archers, Agrinian javelin men, ready to screen the line and disrupt any charge. On the left flank, Parmenion commands the Thessalian and allied Greek cavalry. His job is simple: hold, do not break, do not let the Persians roll up the line. On the right flank, Alexander himself leads the companion cavalry, the finest shock cavalry in the world. He is not there to hold, he is there to strike. Alexander rides along his line. He stops in front of his men. The words he speaks are not recorded verbatim, but the meaning has survived through the centuries. He tells them, "Look at them. They are many. We are few. But they fight for a king they have never seen, for gold they will never spend. You fight for your homes, for your families, for the ground beneath your feet. Where I ride, follow. If I fall, do not stop. There is no road home that does not cross this field." For a moment, silence. Then the Macedonians roar. Shields clash against spears. The sound rolls across the plain, and for just an instant the vast Persian line seems to hesitate. The battle does not start with a charge. It starts with a walk. Alexander orders his entire line to move forward, but not straight ahead. They drift to the right. Slowly, deliberately, they angle away from the center of the Persian line. To an untrained eye, it looks like a mistake, like Alexander is trying to avoid battle, to slip around the edge. But Bessus, commanding the Persian left, understands immediately. Alexander isn't retreating, he's baiting. If the Persians do nothing, Alexander will simply march past their prepared ground and hit them from the side. Bessus has no choice. He extends his cavalry line, stretching farther and farther to keep pace with Alexander's movement. Thousands of elite horsemen pull away from the center, chasing a ghost. The Persian center begins to thin.
Still, Alexander drifts right. Still, Bessus extends. Finally, unable to contain himself, Bessus attacks. His Bactrian and Scythian cavalry surge forward, crashing into Alexander's right flank. The bait has been taken.
Darius sees the engagement on his left and believes the moment has come. He signals the chariots. 200 scythed chariots surge forward, wheels spinning, blades gleaming. Behind them, the war elephants begin to move, shaking the ground with every step. This is the moment that should end the battle. Chariots against infantry, with no room to escape. But the Macedonians do not panic. They have drilled for this. As the chariots approach, the phalanx opens. Gaps appear in the line, corridors of empty space. The chariots scream through, and as they pass, the light troops behind the line cut down the drivers with javelins and arrows. Most of the chariots tear through empty air, their blades finding nothing. Those that reach the rear are surrounded and destroyed. The elephants follow. But elephants are not machines. They feel pain. They feel fear. The Macedonians harass them with javelins, strike at their legs, blind them with spears. The great beasts stagger, turn, and crash into their own lines. Darius's opening gambit has failed. On the left flank, Parmenion is in trouble. Mazaeus, commanding the Persian right, has launched a massive cavalry assault. The Thessalians fight desperately, but they are outnumbered. Parmenion sends message after message. We need help. We cannot hold forever. In the center, Darius commits his infantry. Tens of thousands of Persian soldiers push forward, engaging the phalanx along its entire length. The battle becomes a grinding, shoving match. Men pressed so close they cannot swing their weapons, dying where they stand from sheer exhaustion. And in that chaos, Alexander sees it. A gap, a weakness in the Persian line, where Bessus pulled his cavalry away, where the infantry has pushed forward, where the center has thinned just enough. For one fleeting moment, the King of Kings is exposed. Alexander does not hesitate. He wheels the companion cavalry to the left, forms them into a wedge, and charges, not at the army, at the man. The wedge smashes into the Persian center like a spear into flesh. Alexander is not fighting soldiers now. He is fighting for a throne. His men cut through the immortals, through the royal guard, through anyone who stands in their way. Darius watches them come. He sees the dust, the blood, the screaming faces. He sees Alexander himself pushing closer, step by step, swing by swing. The King of Kings prepares to fight. He is no coward. But as the gap closes, something breaks inside him. Not his courage, his certainty. He realizes that this man cannot be stopped, that numbers mean nothing, that the universe has chosen a different king. He turns his chariot and flees. The moment Darius runs, the Persian army ceases to exist as a fighting force. Orders stop, units dissolve, men drop their weapons and run. What was moments ago the largest army ever assembled becomes a mob, trampling itself in its desperation to escape. Alexander wants to pursue. He wants to end this. But a messenger arrives. Parmenion is on the verge of collapse. Mazaeus is crushing the left flank. Alexander makes a decision that defines his genius. He turns back. He leaves the fleeing king to save his own men. He rides to the left, rallies the cavalry, stabilizes the line. Only when the flank is secure does he allow himself to look east, where Darius has vanished into the dust. Gaugamela is over. The Persian Empire, which had dominated the Near East for over 200 years, has lost its army, its king, and its future. Alexander will march into Babylon, into Susa, into Persepolis. He will claim the title King of Asia. The Achaemenid dynasty, the line of Cyrus the Great, ends not with a bang, but with a chariot disappearing over the horizon. But Darius is still alive. He flees east, hoping to raise another army to fight another day. He will be betrayed by his own men, stabbed by his satraps, and left to die in a cart. Alexander will find him, still breathing, and will cover him with his own cloak. The man who tried to destroy him will receive the honor of a king. And Alexander will keep pushing east, into Afghanistan, into India, to the edge of the world. But that is another story. At Gaugamela, on a flat plain in northern Mesopotamia, a 25-year-old king bet everything on a single idea, that wars are won not by numbers but by nerve, that if you can see the king and if you can reach him, the empire will fall. He was right, and the world has never been the same. If this story gripped you, if you felt the dust and the fear and the impossible courage of that day, then hit that like button. It helps more history lovers find this channel. Subscribe to Reinvoke History for more stories of the battles, betrayals, and brilliant madmen who shaped our world. And turn on notifications, because the past is never as far away as it seems. Tell me in the comments, would you have charged, or would you have run with Darius? I read every single one. Until next time.